Ladies and lovers, Andy here. I went from depressed and suicidal to living a life of abundance and joy. This is the Kill You're in a Loser show. Let's fucking go. Love is not what you see in the movies. I'm going to read out a quote from this book. The book is The Map of Consciousness Explained by David Hawkins. I'll read out a couple of big quotes here, and we're going to kind of react to some of what he says here. So he says, love as depicted in the mass media is not what this level implies. And the level that he's talking about is actual love. On the contrary, what the world generally refers to as love is an intense emotionality combining physical attraction, possessiveness, absolutely true, control, addiction, eroticism, and novelty, especially that last one. It is usually evanescent and fluctuating, waxing and waning with varying conditions. When frustrated, this emotion, as in love, often reveals an underlying anger and dependency that it had masked. That love can turn to hate is a common concept, but what is being spoken about, rather than love, is an addictive sentimentality and attachment. Hate stems from pride, not love. There probably never was actual love in such a relationship. So he's talking about when you get really angry or hateful at the person that you love, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, that kind of sentimentality. That's not love. That's pride. That's controlling. That's frustration. That's dependency, codependency. Mm-hmm. That's wanting the other person to do what you want. That's novelty. Eroticism, all the words that he uses here. A lot of people really get love completely fucking twisted, and I definitely did too. And it took both of us a couple of years to really get to that more mature level of love, or that deeper level of love, I guess you'd say, that selfless level of love, where it's actual love rather than I want you to do what I say, or I need you to be who I want you to be, or this is my idea of who you are, and that's what I've fallen in love with, and that's not allowed to change. Which is a very common concept of love. It's prideful. It's, again, if we're talking about what's in movies and books and TV and stuff like that, it's this weird fucked up like infatuation. Maybe I won't say it's fucked up, but it's this twisted form of love. It's like this infatuation, this concept of emotionality, as he says, and very like almost dark in some ways, isn't it?
Yeah, and it is very interesting because the start of our relationship in the first couple of years, if not until like maybe a year or so ago, was very much dependent on doing what the other person wanted or was like accepting of, and love was very much earned. Mm-hmm. And
you only get my love if you do what I want.
Mm-hmm. And when you're not doing what I want, then I'm unhappy with you and I'm not showing love to you.
Yeah, I'll be cold, or I will... And not always intentionally, but just, I can't feel love for you if you're not doing what I want you to do.
Yeah, and if you don't do what I want you to do for long enough, where like I will break up with you.
Yeah.
I can't be with you if you're not going to eventually do what I want you to do it fast enough. Mm-hmm. And I think that is pretty common. And obviously
I think that's most people's view of love.
There is a difference between like having boundaries and rule breakers and things that you are and are not okay with. But for the day-to-day stuff that involves people basically just being themselves, living their own life, I think that is when it falls into the, like, if your partner isn't doing those things in the way that you want it, then people can find a problem with that. And I think that's very, very, very common.
Oh, I think most people in love, and we were certainly like this in the first couple of years, enter into this controlling state of like high emotionality where it's like, I love you, but, only... It's very conditional. I think, if we were to sum up what we're going to talk about in this podcast, it's not just that love is not what you see in the movies. Like, that's not actual love. That's not deep love. That's conditional love, which is not love. That's not love. Love is the unconditional love that a mother or most mothers will feel for their children. Love is the feeling that you feel when you are in service of someone else, when you give to someone else, which is why I talk all the time about giving value. Love is when you can look at someone and say, even with all their flaws, I love them. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you stay with them. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that at all. But love is being able to accept the person, or accept reality, I guess you would say, and love that person for whoever they are. And again, that doesn't mean that you stay with them if there are real big deal breakers. I'm not saying like, oh, just put up with, I don't know, let's use an example of like abuse. I'm not saying put up with someone being violent in a relationship, but you can still love that person and go, okay, they're violent. That's not what I want. I'm going to leave. But I don't have to hate them. I don't have to control them. I don't have to change them. Obviously, we want the best for each other, and you want the best for the person that you're in a relationship with. But when it can move over into like controlling or pride, and a lot of people wouldn't even call it controlling. They'd just say like, no, but this is what love is. Love is like, I love them, so I want them to do what I want.
There's an exchange.
Yeah, there's an exchange there. That's not love. That's as he says here, it's controlling, possessiveness. I mean, how many people in love only will love if that person does everything they want? It's like, I'll love you as long as you spend X amount of days with me per week.
Yeah, and as it's said by David Hawkins in that quote that you just read, that can often turn into hate very quickly.
The second that's broken, yeah.
And I think fundamentally what it is a difference in definitions of love. And as it said, love is a constant state of being. It's an act, whereas the infatuation that most people refer to when they say like, I'm in love, I'm in this relationship and I'm in love, it's this, it's like a infatuation. It's temporary. It can be fleeting and fluctuating. It's not this constant like, I love this person. It's all of these different emotions tied up in your connection to another person. And we've kind of bundled that up and called it love.
Yeah, and it can involve possessiveness, it can involve controlling, it can involve, as he says, novelty. I love that you use the word infatuation, because that's often what people refer to.
Yeah, which is funny because people will talk about like the honeymoon period where it's like, this person is new and it's exciting and I'm getting to know this person. It's all very novel, as you've said, but that fades. That's not love. It's infatuation and novelty.
That's excitement. Yeah, it's novelty. It's something cool. And you can ask the question of like, do I feel like I'm still in? I don't like the term the honeymoon phase, but do I feel like I still love you? And you can ask the same question of yourself. Do you love me as much as we did, like, I don't know, the first 6 months?
I would say I love you more.
I would
but
too.
The feeling is very different. It doesn't feel anything like it did in the first 6 months.
It's more of an act now. It's less controlling. It's more of an acceptance.
It's more constant.
Yep.
I was up and down so much.
So was I at the start. Because that's what's depicted to us in the movies. It's, I'm in love with you. And when you talk about love as like an emotion or a state, like, oh, I'm in love, but I could also fall out of love if they don't do what I want, which is that's the hidden dark side of love, that what most people call love. Again, it's not really love, but the conditional love. The dark side is, if you don't do what I want, I won't be in love with you.
I'll hate you.
Yeah, people talk about that. If you cheat on me, I won't be in love with you. If you don't put the dishes away enough, I won't be in love with you. If you start to get fat, I won't be in love with you. If you speak rudely to me, I won't be in love with you. It's very conditional, and there are like often thousands of these little conditions that we're kind of walking around with, and we haven't necessarily ever realized it, but there are thousands of these conditions. You fall out of love. If they become too busy at their work, I'm falling out of love with him. I'm not feeling the chemistry anymore. I'm not feeling loved. If she's sick for a couple of weeks, or if she loses her libido for a couple of weeks and doesn't want to have sex, I can't be in love with her. There's so many of these thousands of little conditions. That's not love. That's infatuation. That's possessiveness. That's physical attraction, definitely. It's novelty. It can be addictive. It can be addiction. It's grandiosity. He doesn't say that, but it's that as well. People have these grandiose ideas of romance, of like, oh my God, I'm in love. Like, look at every fucking romance movie.
Yeah, think about epic drama.
Yeah, think about The Notebook as the best example.
Never seen The Notebook.
The Notebook is just the definition of like, romance is so romantic. Oh my God. If you watch 50 Shades of Grey is another really good example.
So bad.
If you watch any of these movies, you will see everything he's talking about. They will talk about love. They will use the word love. But it is intense emotionality, especially The Notebook and 50 Shades of Grey as well, and pretty much every single romance or chick flick ever. Definitely possessiveness, Abso-fucking-lutely.
Yeah.
Definitely control, definitely addiction. Like, I hate you, you're bad for me, but I love you. Like, that kind of...
It's an addiction to the drama.
Absolutely.
That, like, intense roller coaster
Absolutely.
emotionality. Because that is it, like, and it's addictive. You're getting all sorts of hormones when...
Fucking oath. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not love, though.
No.
There may be love in there somewhere, but that's not deep, true love. And again, I'm going to talk about that in a second. And this isn't, I hope this podcast doesn't come across as us putting a stamp on love and saying, this is what love is. Like, we're the arbiters of what love is. But when you have felt a deeper unconditional love, or a deeper actual love coming from yourself, and we'll talk about that a bit later, love comes from you. It's got nothing to do with the other person. Mm. When you felt that, yeah, you can see the shallow version, the initial, high emotionality, addictive version of love. It's just not the same fucking thing. It's all the other things, and we put a stamp on it, calling it love. But yeah, these movies of like The Notebook and stuff like that, there's also novelty in there a lot. There's a lot of eroticism. There's a lot of, like you said, drama and addictiveness to the drama. Mm-hmm. As David Hawkins says in this quote, it kind of waxes and wanes with varying conditions. Oh, I'm not feeling good, so I don't love you now. Oh, we haven't talked much this week, so I don't love you. You've been really busy with work, and I feel unloved. That's not fucking love. That's conditional love. That requires the other person to be absolutely goddamn perfect, which they can't be. They're a shitty human being, and you're a shitty human being. We're imperfect. And it requires them to mind read and know everything that you will always want ever. And it requires them not to have their own preferences. That is a huge part of love. Byron Katie has that quote where she says a lot of people, when they talk about love, they'll have this in their mind. If you love me, you'll do what I want. You could also expand that and say most people will sort of have this feeling of, if you love me, you'll be who I want you to be. Mm-hmm. You'll have the preferences that I want you to have. You will act the way that I want you to. And a lot of people might hear that and go like, no. I love my partner. I would never want to control them. What are you talking about? It's like, all right, let's see them not do what you want for a week and see how you deal with that. Let's see them be depressed for a month and see how you deal with that. Let's see them, I don't know, not talk to you for a week because they're in their own head and they're dealing with a lot of shit. Let's see if you still feel love then. Like, love transcends those sort of things. And again, I'm not telling you that you have to stay in a relationship that's making you deeply unhappy, or if there's a real deal breaker, fine. But you don't not love that person. You love them all the same, and then you say, hey, I love you, but I'm going to depart. I love you, but we're going to move on. I love you, but I'm going to start seeing other people, or I'm just going to be by myself now. You
can love somebody without being in a relationship with them.
Of course.
And I think the sort of love that we're talking about is not just romantic love. It applies to anybody or anything that you can have any sort of relationship with. It's the same love that you would give to your friends or family or people that you meet. It's like you can look at the person like passing by you as you walk down the street and say, I love that person because they're another human being that's got their own life, and look at them smiling. I love that. Isn't that beautiful that they're enjoying life? And I'm sure they have a really amazing life, and I love that. I want the best. I love them. I want the best for them.
I love them as they are. Mm-hmm. And obviously you want to support people's growth and their self-improvement and all of that. Obviously I support yours, you support mine, but yeah, love is it's an acceptance of reality. It really is. It's falling in love with reality. It's falling in love with the person as they are. As you said, that can be other people. It's not just the person you're in a relationship with. You can walk down the street and fall in love with literally every person that you see. And we're going to talk about this a little more in a second. Love is more of an action, or it's an internal thing that you do, which has almost nothing to do with the other person. Because in every single person, there are things that you can love about them. Every single person. No one is irredeemable. Everybody has something about them that if you look for it, you can find to love them. And so deeper love, and again, that doesn't mean you go out and date every single person on the... Like, you have preferences still, obviously. But the fact is, if you say to yourself, I will love my partner if they do everything I want, or I will love them when I feel love. That's another thing we haven't talked about. A lot of people will only say that they love their partner, or they'll only have that love when they feel it very strongly. We talk about novelty. This is why a lot of people break up in relationships after a year or after a couple of years, because that strong emotionality, it does kind of go away.
And people fall into that, like, is there something wrong? Like, am I out of love with them anymore? Do I
How come I
not?
don't feel head over heels butterflies anymore?
Mm.
And it's like, that's childish emotionality.
And the whole reason of us saying this isn't just to, like, be, as you would say, like, autistic and pick apart definitions and be like, this is the correct definition of love. And
No, not at all.
this is about, like, I guess to help. It's to, because ultimately, like, the form of love that we're talking about is more peaceful. It's more grounded. It's less
drama.
fluctuating. Yeah. At least in our experience, it's made us a lot happier people and closer with one another.
Mm-hmm.
And our relationship with one another is more stable. And I think that's why we're kind of creating the distinction, maybe recognizing why it might be helpful to move away from
The media version of love.
the infatuation type of love.
And to be clear, I would actually... So it might sound, listening to this, like we're saying, oh, there's less emotionality with you and I. No, I actually think there's more now than there was in the past. Because once you've removed all these controlling ideas of, like, you have to do what I want, you know, once you remove the grandiosity and the stories and, like, the big drama of falling in love and, oh my God, I love you so much, I'll do anything for you, you're my other half, you're my soulmate. And that is something that we both tried. We put a lot of effort, because I guess I got it from the red pill, so thank you, red pill. I never said statements to you, and you didn't say them to me either, of like, you're my other half, like, you complete me, you're my soulmate, you're the one for me. Like, we made sure to never fucking say that stuff, because that's the romanticism. That's the... And not that we're against romanticism. We're both very romantic people, incredibly so. But to tell yourself those lies of, like, and they are lies, you complete me. It's like, why aren't you completed by yourself? You're my soulmate. So you're telling me there's no one else on the planet that you could ever fall in love with. It's just this fucking person, and you happen to fluke that. Holy shit. You're the one for me. It's like, okay, so there couldn't be anyone else. This is just the most perfect person on the planet. And if she ever has any deal breakers, what? Do we call you a liar then? If you ever break up, well, then you fucking lied.
In our relationship in particular, I think we've always had a level of rationality.
For sure.
And an understanding that, at least in the example that you were giving, of course there's going to be plenty more people that would be just as well suited, potentially more well suited to each other. Like, that's the way that it is. There's a lot of people on the planet.
Statistically, yeah, of course.
Yeah. And the type of love that we're talking about, it does, I mean, I guess because there's not those fluctuations in emotions, it does feel more rational.
Yeah, but the point that I was going to get to is that's not to say that there isn't intense emotionality there and deep love. And I think when you remove all of the possessiveness, the controlling, the addiction, the drama, the stories, like all the extra stuff that people call being in love, which is not really, it's all the other emotions and the controlling aspects. When you remove all that, you're left with nothing but actual love. Like, the only emotion that is left is just love. Gratitude as well, I guess you can say. Peace, kindness, sweetness, intimacy, sex, affection.
It feels very pure.
You take away all the lows, and it's just, you're left with nothing but a pure, of motive. Like here's another quote that David Hawkins says in that same book. Love has the capacity to lift others and accomplish great feats because of its purity of motive. So I love that you use the word pure. Yeah, it's, you've taken away all of the controlling, and you get to a point where it's like, I don't need anything from you. However you're going to be, that's how you're going to be. And obviously, if there's something you do that's a massive deal breaker, and like, or you fundamentally change as a person or something, and I'm no longer attracted, like, you'd be patient with that. But eventually you go, okay, like, we are going to break up, but you don't need the person. Like, that's okay. You're essentially accepting that. And this is part of the process of getting to that deep level of love. You have to be okay with the person walking away. You have to be okay with them fundamentally changing one day, because they might. You have to be okay with them dying. If you want more on this, read any Buddhism books. Read I Need Your Love, Is That True? By Byron Katie. That's a really good book on this stuff. But it's essentially like giving up that controlling or that attachment or that addiction or that neediness.
Yeah, it is such a cliche, but there's the saying of, like, if you love me, you'll set me free.
Yeah.
It's like, if you do truly love somebody, you will also love the fact that they as much as they have the ability to be in your life, they can also not be in your life.
Yeah, they're like a bird. They can come and go if they feel like it. You can't control the other person. You don't like who you become when you try and control the other person.
Yeah, to stop them leaving, to make sure that they stay, to make sure that the type of love that you have is like the same feeling stays with you forever. That's stressful. And I think
impossible.
It inhibits you from actually being present with another person, because there's all of this shit in the background. Even if you're like, oh, I'm not worried. I trust my partner. I'm not worried they'll leave me.
What if they cheat on me?
There is some part of you that still has fears when you're trying to connect with the other person. There's going to be something in the back of your mind that's going to have, if this happens, but what if? And that will stop you from being fully
present.
In the moment, fully, truly loving them without any inhibitions.
Yeah. It's hard to live it's hard to love wholeheartedly. It's also hard to live wholeheartedly when you're worried that the other person will leave, or when you're worried that they will cheat on you, or when you're worried that they might change, or when you're constantly sitting there looking for evidence of that. And that's what a lot of people do. We did at the start a little bit. Not too much, but we did a fair bit, where it's like, oh my God, they haven't talked to me for a couple of days. Do they not love me as much anymore? Oh my God, is something wrong? Is something changing? Is the chemistry starting to drop off? Like, fuck, like maybe this isn't that beautiful romantic relationship. And especially, we gave the title of this, we talked about the mass media. Lots of TV, lots of drama, lots of movies will just obsess about the intense emotionality. And when your relationship doesn't have that intense emotionality, which it won't permanently unless you want to live in a drama-fueled relationship, which a lot of people do. You can often then go, you'll compare yourself to what's in movies and, The Notebook and all of that kind of stuff, and go, holy shit, like, why don't we have that? Fuck, is something wrong? And it's like, no, you're just settling into actual love. And obviously don't get complacent. We can, some people get complacent in relationships. To be very clear, I believe love is an action. It's a state of your own internal, frame of mind. You feel love through action. You feel love by giving value. You feel love by gratitude. You feel love by spending time together and the love languages. You feel gratitude by building yourself up and liking yourself more. You feel gratitude by building up the relationship and adding value to the relationship. It's something you do.
What we're talking about is the opposite of stagnation or complacency or not doing anything and just being.
In fact, what most people call love is stagnation. It's just relying on the feeling and doing nothing else.
Because I think it could be very easy to interpret what we're saying and warp it into like, oh, so you're just saying they can do whatever they want and you should just put up with it and love the fact that they're not doing anything with themselves and they're not. But it really is the opposite. As you're saying, it's very active, and none of this is about, we're probably going to say it quite a few times, but none of this is about not having boundaries or not having standards or putting up with anything your partner might give you. It's making sure that your internal space is clear and peaceful and constant, and giving yourself that by being able to give love as a constant state of being.
Correct. Yeah, you loving yourself, you feeling love within yourself, and then giving that to the other person. We talked, I wrote some notes here. Actual love is selfless. It's giving. It needs nothing. You love for love's sake. You're just feeling love within yourself, and then you have that to give to someone else. That's why the concept of like, you're my better half or you complete me, it's like, what the fuck? Why are you not complete by yourself? And so books that help with this are obviously I Need Your Love, Is That True? By Byron Katie. Loving What Is by Byron Katie. Any Buddhism books. No More Mr. Nice Guy, and I recommend that book to women as well. When I Say No, I Feel Guilty. Obviously, Stoicism is very helpful. Self-improvement in general is very helpful. But essentially what you're doing, or what we recommend, is learning to love yourself or building yourself up. Learning to even just like yourself. Just start with that. And then you'll see that love, like deeper love, is an action. It's something you do rather than just something you feel. The feelings that you feel are almost a byproduct of the time you have spent together, how much you've grown together, how much value you have given to them and how much they have given back to you, how much you love yourself and stuff like that. You walk around feeling love and then you go, you're going to receive some of my love. Loving is, or love is something you give. It's not receiving. And I think most of the media's view of love, or most of, I guess maybe we won't even say the media, like most people's view of love is that I receive love, I get love, you will love me. Love is a feeling. I get this feeling, and sometimes it comes and it goes, and I don't know why it's so random. It's like, that's not love. Love is an action, and an action is something you can do fucking constantly. You're never relying on that feeling or the other person, because you go, I'm just going to love regardless of what they do.
And I think part of why that can be confusing, because at the start of a relationship, I think just literally just by spending time with a new novel person, you get so many feelings and emotions, because there's the novelty, there's connecting with somebody for the first time. And yes, in those instances, that type of love, or I don't know, we can call it something else.
Infatuation.
That infatuation, you get that by doing literally just by spending time with the person.
You feel those feelings, yeah.
Yeah, and it's so intense and crazy. And then as I think you become more familiar with somebody, to then keep those good feelings of like a constant love going, yes, that's going to require upkeep. It's not going to be like the first year by just spending time with somebody, you get this crazy flood of hormones and feel good feelings.
Yeah, and I think that's when people start saying something's wrong in the relationship. Why don't I feel the same feelings? And to be clear, I feel stronger feelings for you now than I did at the start. Orders of magnitude. Because we have worked on it. I don't even like the phrase worked on it. It's like we've watered our garden. We've upkept. We've decided to pour love into each other and into ourselves, definitely into yourself. And so some of the actions that you can take, all the books that I've just recommended, again, probably the best one is I Need Your Love, Is That True? By Byron Katie. But on top of that, daily gratitude. So just set a reminder in your calendar or have a notification on your phone every night. Just say 5 things that you're grateful for to yourself, to the other person. You don't even have to say it to the other person. You're doing this for you. Again, love is like a garden that you cultivate in yourself. It's flowers that you need to water yourself. It has nothing to do with the other person. They might be one of the objects of your love, but in order to be a loving person or to have a loving relationship, you have to love yourself first and foremost, above everything else. Love existence itself, love the universe, love the fact that you get to be alive, and that's just gratitude. If you struggle with that, that's okay. That might take years. It took me, God, like, remember I was depressed and suicidal and shit. So this has been a journey for me of like 20 years. Love, people around you, love your friends and family, love your job. If you don't love your job, please quit and go work somewhere else. Don't ever tell yourself the lie of like, I'm stuck here. No, you're not. But it's cultivating that love. Love for your fellow man, love for your fellow woman, love for everybody around you and everything around you, and love for yourself, love for the gifts that you've been given, love for the opportunities. And all of that can take a while to cultivate. I don't expect everybody listening right now to be immediately loving towards themselves and everyone around. Lots of people, funnily enough, it doesn't happen a whole lot, but when we talk about some of these concepts, people get angry because they're like, you can't tell me just to feel love. Like, you don't understand. My job is difficult. Like, I work this job I hate, and I can't. Like, love is something you cultivate. Again, remember that I was super suicidal and depressed for a fucking long time, for like 8 or so years. I was not feeling any love back then. Love is something that can take, like I said, it's taken me 15, 20 years. But the more you work on your love, love for yourself, love internally, the easier it is to love other people. And as you said, you can be in that state of just constant love. I'm constantly feeling love for you. I constantly feel love. Like I said, I would say more emotionality than I was, in the first year or two of our relationship. I feel stronger for you now. It's just that you don't have those lows of, I need you to do what I want. I'm going to control you. Why is the feeling missing? It's like the feeling is never missing. Love is permanently present because we've cultivated it.
Yeah, you remove those moments of like that depressive despair and hopelessness and heartbreak and pain to that level. And I think it's also worth mentioning, when you were talking about self-love, even right now, as somebody who's worked on it a great deal for many, many years, even the last couple of weeks while you've been sick and you've been very busy, there are points where you're not perfectly loving to yourself.
Oh, of course.
You're hard on yourself. You judge yourself for things that you may do, for self-medicating, whatever it might be.
Very much.
And part of all of this, part of practicing love is whenever you're having all of those judgmental thoughts or all of those stories, you do your best to just return to that love, and as you've said, taking action,
Yes,
practicing
action,
gratitude, like literally listing all of the things you're grateful for in order to help you return to that more peaceful, constant state. It is, as you said, it requires upkeep. It's watering your garden so that you can keep yourself in love.
Yeah, and there's a ton of actions, and we can talk about some of what they are. Gratitude is the easiest one, or the one that's always going to be available to you. And so anytime you're not feeling super loving in your relationship or super loving in yourself, write a list of 50 things that you're grateful for in that moment. You know, your friends, your family, life itself, the sun, whatever it is, just 50 things. That helps you return back to this state of love. As I said, we do this every single night. I do this literally every day. And once a week, we will do an accountability check-in, which I've talked about that before. That's another way to build love in a relationship, or to grow love. Let's say grow rather than build, because you're already feeling pretty intense in the first year. And so an accountability check-in is once a week. You and I will go. We have a day together that we never mess with. Like that day is sacred. It's our special day together every Monday. And we will go on a little road trip, or we'll do something nice together, and we will keep each other accountable. Like, are you working on your goals? Are you working on your self-improvement? Am I working on my self-improvement? And part of that process is us growing closer together. And we will also come up with all the things that we love about each other, all of the things that we're grateful towards the other person and towards life in general and our friends and all of that. And we spend a lot of time like cultivating that. On top of that, mirror therapy, which I've talked about a million times in videos, which is you essentially looking into your own eyes in the mirror and saying, I love you, to yourself. And for a lot of people, that's very confrontational. That can be very freaking difficult the first couple of times you do it. So search on my YouTube channel just search for mirror therapy. I've done a couple of videos on this. I think I've done like 3 videos on this. I do that every single night. So do you. Learning to love yourself, like literally learning to love yourself. Another thing you can do if you struggle with your self-esteem, or you struggle to feel love in yourself, is write a list of 50 things about yourself that are likable. I get pretty much all my coaching clients to do this. A lot of them really struggle with it, and they need help with some of it. They can only get 20, and then I have to jump in and give them some more. And I get them to post it in my coaching group, and everyone else will jump in and be like, good job, bro. Like, good job writing this. But that, you know, all of this stuff that we're talking about here, and obviously self-improvement in general is another big one, just working on improving yourself and working towards your goals and the things that are important to you. All of this stuff helps you like yourself and helps you feel love in yourself. Then you have that to give to the other person. On that note, giving to other people is a great way to feel love. It's why I talk about giving value all the time. A really good quote that's really relevant there is Mother Teresa's quote, do small things with great love. And so a lot of this, she's someone that has a lot of quotes about love, and because her whole shtick was love. And a lot of the stuff that she talks about is like, love isn't this grandiose, big, crazy thing. It's those small moments. It's being humble. It's just being loving and being present. And I think that's a really good, like, we can take that and apply that to relationships. It's not these big, like, The Notebook moments of, like, it's raining and, oh my God, I love you so much, but I can't be with you, but I have to be with you because I need you, but, like, oh my God, like, but we're bad for each other, but we can be bad for each other together, sweetheart. I love you so much. Like, that kind of bullshit. That's what The Notebook is, by the way. I know you haven't seen it. It's literally that. It's like 2 people that talk about how they're not good for each other. 50 Shades of Grey is the same thing.
I think as time goes on too, films like that will probably resonate with me less and less, and I'll probably struggle to watch something like that.
They're just insane. They're just insane. They're utterly insane. When you've had a taste of actual deep love or self-love that you then give to other people, that giving love, just watching those movies is fucking insane. And that's the way I used to be. That's how my first 2 relationships were. That's why they were so, violent. It's why we were both verbally abusive to each other. Like, in both of those relationships, it just wasn't good, because it was this, I need you, but I'm not good for you, but I love you, but you don't do what I want. Like, it was this obsession with being in love. So another really good, jump in.
I was going to say, coming back to the small things as well, I think for us, some of the most meaningful and important times that we share together and not like the big things that we do for one another or the romantic gestures. It's lying on the couch together in the evening and just listening to music.
Yeah, doing nothing together, just being very present.
Those are some
meditating together.
Yeah, some of the most special times.
Because you're focusing on love, on actual love, not the grandiosity of it, not like the controlling aspect of it, not the emotions. You're just being loving.
Falling in love with the little things, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so a really good quote on that, another Mother Teresa quote. Do not think that love, in order to be genuine, has to be extraordinary. What we need is to love without getting tired. Be faithful in small things because it is in them that your strength lies. And there's a Stoicism quote that's exactly the same as that. I think she might have just gotten that last sentence from a Stoic quote. I can't remember who, but it's like, in the small things your strength lies. And that's a perfect explanation of love. It's those small moments. It's being loving, it's smiling at each other, it's being kind to each other, it's doing little acts of service for each other, or whatever your love languages might be. It's those moments of giving love and giving it to yourself as well. I think we've made that pretty clear in this video. If you love yourself, fucking hell, that's love. That's that deep love, focusing on building yourself up.
And what I love about that quote, without getting tired, because the infatuation and that extreme emotionality is exhausting.
Drama,
the first year or so, and to be fair, it was my first relationship, so I hadn't experienced all of those feelings before, and I didn't know what to expect. But it was so exhausting.
You were very terrified.
It felt like most days for months were this roller coaster of feelings and emotions, and it was very, very tiring.
You were very scared. You really genuinely were. You were like, I don't know if I can handle this emotion. Like, I need you. Like, I want you. And I had to gently push you in the way of like, hey, that's not love. That's just crazy emotions. And I was a little bit the same, but a little bit more grounded because I'd been in relationships.
It was not a peaceful time.
Yeah. But that's what a lot of people see love as. It's these strong emotions and I need you, like, I love you so much. Like, I'm going to look at you and just, oh my God, you're everything. But also I hate you because, like, you hurt me. Well, how did I hurt you? Because you didn't put the dishes away. Like, it's needing the other person to be, it's because you tell yourself all these stories of, like, the other person is perfect. I love them so much. This feeling is so strong. And you build it up, or we build it up as human beings. And then the second anything doesn't feel that intense, you go, oh shit, something's missing. Or maybe they have a day where they're not perfect. Maybe they're standing there in the kitchen and they let out a big fucking fart. And you're like, oh my God, like, why did they fart? They're supposed to be my angel. They're supposed to be like my perfect human being. They farted. That's disgusting. Like, I could never be with someone like that. Or maybe he has a day where he hangs out with his mates and he forgets that you were supposed to spend time together. And suddenly you go, oh shit, like, he doesn't love me. Maybe I love him more than he loves me. What's wrong? It's like nothing's wrong. They're just a human being who aren't going to do everything you want them to do at every single millisecond of time. Because that's literally not possible, even if they want to. And a lot of people in relationships do want to be perfect for each other. They set the bar up here that they both have to be immaculate, and they try for it, but they still fall short because they're a human being.
Yeah. And it is nice right now with things being more peaceful and me being accepting of all of the things. And I think us both being accepting of each other more and all of the little things we might do that aren't perfect. But they are perfect because they're
perfect. They're just not what I want. But then you wrap your head around and say, you know what? I want you to just do whatever the fuck you want to do. Correct.
But what is so much nicer is that now, like, when I will catch up with my friends, and because I think it's a very common thing, you catch up with your friends and they're like, oh, how's things with so-and-so, like your partner? How are things going? And I think it's very common that's the time that you will whinge or complain or talk, or even just talk through, like, the problems you're experiencing or frustrations. But what I've found, especially recently, that has been really nice, people be like, oh, how's Andy? And I'm like, good. Things are really good. And like, I'm like, things are going good. I feel like they're the closest that we've been ever. Things are positive. And that's it. Because in the past, some of those people that are asking me, I may have been expressing concerns or upset or being unsure about certain things in the relationship. But as we've both worked on being more loving, being more peaceful, being more accepting of the way that things are, taking responsibility.
Taking action.
And being responsibility for your own emotions and how you're feeling in the relationship, things just work better. Things just seem to be going better.
Yeah. And building those habits up of like, you know, self-love, gratitude every day, the mirror therapy, like telling yourself you love yourself in the mirror, reading all these books that we're reading. Obviously, Stoicism helps so unbelievably much. So go and read anything by Marcus Aurelius or Epictetus, Seneca. Any of those guys are really good at, and Byron Katie is another really good Stoic. Read any of these people. Read Buddhist philosophy, which talks about letting go of attachment and not needing other people to do everything you want them to do, being okay with them leaving. You know, Byron Katie has a really great quote. People come and go in my life. I love when they come and I love when they go. If you can really wrap your head around that, which is essentially abundance mentality, or it's you being okay with who you are and not needing love or not needing other people, you realize, and this is a very Byron Katie philosophy, you realize if I want to feel love, that's up to me. Why the fuck is it the other person's responsibility for me to feel like I'm in love? Which is what most people do in a relationship. They say, so I'm in, for us to feel in love, you have to make me feel like I'm in love.
Yeah, you need to do more romantic things.
Yeah,
and
you
buy
have
me
to make me feel love.
and plan like spontaneous dates. You need to be doing more so that
insane.
I love you.
It's like, motherfucker, are you fucking serious? You want to feel love? You fucking feel love, dickhead. Like, how is this my responsibility? Like, what, do you want me to fucking wipe your ass as well? Do you want me to jerk your little dicky whenever you're horny? Do you want me to just cook your food all the time? Should I just wait hand and foot on you and be your complete fucking slave? Oh, you want to feel love? Oh, do you want me to inject you with heroin or something to make you feel love? Should I just give you ecstasy every morning? Give you a little MDMA tablet and LSD every day and make you feel love all the time? Like, how the fuck is that someone else's responsibility? If you want to feel love, you fucking feel love. Like, it's insane to say, you have to make me feel love. And so the way that you make yourself feel love is, you know, all the stuff that we've talked about here. It's taking action. It's giving. It's understanding, if I want the person to love me, fuck, man, I got to go first. I got to love them. I will do the action that I want them to do. If I want them to be kind to me, I'll be kind to them. If I want to feel snuggly and close and warm and affectionate, I will give that to them. Or I'll give that to myself, which is, you know, like mirror therapy, self-improvement, you know, gratitude lists, working on yourself and improving your life. All of this stuff is you loving yourself. It's you giving yourself the thing that you want, which is love. And so, yeah, if we can really sum something up or sum all this up, it's love comes from you. It does not come from external sources. And I think people get that so unbelievably twisted. They're like, if I want to feel love, I have to find the perfect partner who will make me feel love. And it's like, what in the shit are you talking about, son? That sounds so risky.
You'll be looking for a long time.
Yeah, you'll never get that because the other person has their own life to live. And even if they can be absolutely perfect, and you've been pretty fucking perfect, and I think I've been pretty fucking perfect, but the times in the past when we're not perfect, but you know what I mean. It's like we've been about as good as I could ever imagine any human being in a relationship.
We're doing pretty good.
Yeah. But if I rely on you to make me feel love, there'll be a million times I don't feel that. And you in the past, when you did want me to make you feel love, there were tons of times you'd be like, I feel disconnected. And I'm like, okay, well, you need to connect. You need to fix it. Same as me. It's like, I feel like this. Okay, well, what do I want to do about that? Do I want to do gratitude list? Do I want to go and hang out with my friends? Do I want to connect with you and do something intimate with you? If you're busy or you're not up for it or whatever, okay, do I want to read one of my self-help books that makes me feel better? Do I want to tell my friends? Do I want to make a video about it, which I've done sometimes when I've felt down or lonely or whatever? It's like you follow through on the action, or you take the action that will make you feel the thing you want, rather than putting the burden on the other person and saying, hey, guess what? I'm an adult, but actually I'm a child. It's your responsibility to make me feel a certain way because I'm a little child and, you know, you're my mummy or you're my daddy and it's your responsibility. It's like, fuck you. If you want to feel love, you feel love. Make that feeling come true. That's up to you. To put that burden on someone else, man, I can't think of something more unloving. And ironically, people will sit there and say, I love you so much, you have to make me feel love. And it's like, that's not love, you fucking jackass. That's burden. That's dependency. That's control. It's definitely novelty. It's not love. It's something twisted and dark, or it can become twisted and dark. It's certainly not pure. And as you know, as David Hawkins said in that quote, actual love, you know, has a purity of motive. There's no motive in love other than love itself. Byron Katie talks about this a lot. Dalai Lama talks about this a lot. Lots of Buddhists talk about this. Is a very common concept. You know, Jesus in the Bible talked about this a lot. Mother Teresa talks about this a lot. This is something that a lot of people have talked about over a long period of time. Actual love just exists for its own state. You love because it feels good. You love because you want to love. You give value because you want to give value. You give to other people because you want to. You serve other people. And when I say serve, I mean help other people. I don't mean be a slave. But you serve other people and raise them up and raise yourself up just because that feels good. Like for no reason other than that. Not to get money, not to do this, not to have them love you back, not so that you can have a great relationship and they'll never leave you. None of that. You give love because it feels good to give love. And so that's why you start with yourself. You need to start with yourself. It doesn't work if you try and love someone else first. You have to love yourself first. This isn't just some, you know, hippie notion that you see in an Instagram motivational post where, you know, like those motivational posters where they're like, you got to love yourself first before someone else can love you. Like, that's not just motivational speaking. That is literally what love is. It comes from you. It's an internal thing. I will... Before we start wrapping up, I'll show off a couple of movies. So we talked before, let's shove our little fucking cute faces over there. I talked before about a couple of movies. What have I done? I clicked off. A couple of movies that are not, I would say, actual love. The Notebook being the best example, but there's tons of other examples. 3 movies that I think show a pretty healthy and pretty realistic timeline of love, I guess you would say, or development of love, are these 3 movies. So the first one is called Before Sunrise. The second one is called Before Sunset. You can see they all have ridiculously good reviews. And the third one is Before Midnight. Okay? These 3 movies feature, so this is the first one, these 3 movies feature the same 2 actors over a long period of time, 18 years. Each of these movies
age.
Yep. Each of these movies is 9 years apart. So the first one was in 1995, then 2004, then 2013. So 9 years between each of them. The 2 actors co-wrote, so the 2 actors are Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy, I believe. Yeah. Ethan Hawke's a great actor. I love Ethan Hawke. And she's great in this movie too, or in these movies too. They co-wrote the script along with the actual, you know, like director or the writers. Like they all sat down and wrote all 3 of these movies. And a hell of a lot of the script is improvised. It's just, especially the first one, they're all like this, but the first one, I think I can best sum it, and you've seen them, I think I can best sum it up by saying it's just 2 people talking for an hour and a half. And you see them like slowly falling in love. And it's so, because it's or a lot of it's unscripted, it's so fucking unbelievably raw and real. It's so unbelievable. It feels literally like you're sitting there just like falling in love with 2 actors as they're falling in love. It's so fucking intimate. There's a reason all 3 of them have such good reviews. They're so unbelievably intimate. And the first movie, you know, this Before Sunrise, I'll try not to give too many spoilers, but the first movie is these 2 people meeting and falling in love. And it's the like Hollywood version or the media version of love, where it's like, oh my God, it's so romantic and it's lovey-dovey and oh my God, it's so like...
It is. It's very romantic, the first movie.
Yeah. It's not unrealistic. It's not like The Notebook or anything, but it's definitely that like infatuation of like, oh my God, I love you so much. Like it's that kind of shit. They don't fall fully in love because the events happen over one evening, but it's such an unbelievably intimate but like novel version of love. Then the second movie, and I'm not going to give any fucking spoilers on these movies because you need to watch. Please don't. If anyone watches these movies, please don't get any spoilers. The second movie does not fucking go the way you think it will.
Yeah.
But the second movie, 9 years later, both of the actors are 9 years older, and in the movie, it's set 9 years later, which is fucking perfect. And it's a much more realistic version of love. And I think there are deeper versions of love. Like, I'll be clear, these people, I'm not saying these actors or the characters in this movie are perfect with love. They're definitely not at all.
But it feels like a realistic depiction.
It's so realistic. Yeah. It feels very realistic. And then the third movie is 9 years later. Again, no fucking spoilers. No spoilers. Like, but it's them 9 years later. So 18 years after they first met. And it's It's not perfect. I'll make that really clear. There are so many things that, you know, we talk about in these podcasts of like communication and like gratitude and all of that they're not doing. So I'm not saying this is like a perfect idea of marriage, but it's definitely like the movie feels somewhat grounded compared to what most idealizations of love are. It feels like a much more realistic, much more intimate, much more like their dirty laundry is just aired right there for you to see. And I'm not saying that every relationship has to have that much drama. There is drama. I'll make it clear. It's not a perfect relationship by any means, and I'm not saying to model their relationship, but yeah, these three movies are just a much more down to earth. They're the only romance movies that I think I can probably think of another one that I like, but they're the only romance movies that I think I've ever watched where I'm like, these are realistic. The only other one I can think of would be Happy Go Lucky.
That's not really romance.
Yeah, because that's the point that I'm going to make.
Sure.
Is that it? Or is it? That one, Sally Hawkins, yeah. So this is another really good movie that I recommend, you know, everyone watch. If you got time, you don't have to watch all these movies. But this movie, fucking great movie. It's...
Low audience score.
Yeah, because they're all liars. This movie is a perfect encapsulation of what we're talking about when we talk about self-love. And you also get the counterbalance of a guy that she meets, and we won't give any spoilers, but the guy is like, any of you listening will like this, he's like black-pilled. He's like a black pill incel. That's probably the best, that's my clickbait, you know, selling of this movie. Anyone listening who wants to see the most optimistic woman that you're ever going to meet come up against a black pill guy who just fucking hates everything, and it's that together, and it's not going to go the way you think. I'll say that.
Not at all.
No. It's fucking realistic. It's an unbelievably realistic movie, and it's very much, you know, one of the concepts I talk about all the time with, you know, the map of consciousness, like the low level emotions versus those higher level emotions of like peace, love, and joy. You get to see someone who's higher up in those emotions, who is just pure happy. Like the movie's called Happy Go Lucky. That's her character to a T. She's just an optimist. She's just loving to everyone. She's kind. She's like a school teacher, and she's just a really lovey like human being. Come up against someone who's down in shame, guilt, fear, anger, rage, hatred, like, and it's a movie of those two people going, like, how they interact, but it doesn't go the way you think it will. Like, I would just say that it's definitely very interesting watching, and it's a really good encapsulation of what we're talking about when we say be loving, like, to yourself. She's the definition of being loving to herself. She really is. And then this other guy is not. And you see how that, and again, the movie does not go the way you think it will. You think it's, I won't spoil anything, but it doesn't go the way you think it will. So those are 4 movies that I would recommend watching. And again, you don't have to watch these, guys and girls, but I recommend them for, you know, concepts of self-love and to see a little bit more of a grounded in those 3 movies, you know, Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and Before Midnight. They're a lot more of a grounded romance. And the 2 characters definitely fucking love each other. The ending of the final movie makes me fucking cry every time. I mean, there's lots of moments I cry in those movies, but the fucking ending, you know, when they're sitting at the restaurant outside after, and he's just... Okay, this is why another reason I like the movie, or those 3 movies. He's a romantic.
She is not. And
she is not a fucking romantic. And it's how those 2 come together. He's just like the eternal fucking optimist and like romantic, and she... I won't spoil anything, but... I really like his character. I like hers too. It's nice to see how they settle into, and again, the relationship is not perfect. That is not why we're advising the movie. It's not a perfect relationship. I'm not saying it's all happy and sunshine and rainbows, but it is a really good encapsulation of what we're talking about. That at the start you feel that infatuation, and I think there are a lot of things that they could do to feel love. It's not necessarily a movie about love.
And it's not trying to be a movie that models a perfect relationship.
Yeah, let's make that clear.
Being a movie that models an honest relationship. Like,
it's very honest.
It's raw. Maybe not honest. It's a raw relationship.
Yeah. All of the flaws, all of the dirty laundry, it's right there to see. And that's kind of why I'm recommending these 3 movies. They're not romance. Like, they are romance movies. The first one, definitely. You're going to watch the first one and be like, bro, this is just a happy Hollywood romantic movie. What the fuck are you talking about? This is over the top romance, Wait till the second and the third movie. You'll understand why I've recommended all three of them. They need to be watched as a package. If you watch the first one, you'll just say, this is the common media idea of romance.
Feel good movie.
Yeah, you've just made this. Hang on, I got my alarm going. Shut up. Yeah, watch all three of the movies if you want to. Anything else we want to talk about with love? I want to do a little summary.
Summary.
Love is internal. Love comes from you. Love is much deeper. What most people call love, as he says, as David Hawkins says, there probably never actually was love in that relationship. If you can quickly move to hatred, how the fuck is that love? And that is a common concept in a lot of relationships. If you don't do what I want, I'll hate you. If you change, I'll hate you. You know, if you fucking cheat on me, I will hate you. And again, I'm not saying to stay in a relationship where the person cheats on you, but why do you hate them because they cheated on you? That's not love. Love doesn't immediately flip to hate. That's pride. That's attachment. That's not love. It probably is just pride, isn't it? A lot of people mistake pride for, and when we say pride, we mean like ego or like attachment, arrogance, any of that kind of stuff. A lot of people, I think they build their relationships on pride.
Yeah.
I'm proud to be with this person.
I
which
need
means
to show off my partner.
Yep, which means if they ever do something that you're not proud of, you will hate them. You will say, listen, you little fucking shit, you need to fucking behave, alright, around my fucking friends. Don't fucking talk like that. You fucking... And that does happen.
Yeah.
That happens a lot. It's like, yo, hey, fucking, you know, you better fucking get this promotion because I'm fucking relying on this. Alright? The person I am, the person that you are in my brain, you're this kind of person and I need to be fucking proud of you. You better not fuck this up. Or if someone goes through a period of like depression or something, definitely in depression, a lot of people will sort of feel like, man, I'm falling out of love with this person. They're not who I married. This isn't the man I married. How many times have you heard that? This isn't the woman I fell in love with. It's like, yeah, they are, you fucking retard. People change. Maybe I won't be so kind. You beautiful retard. People change. Like that's, and they were always that, but what do you mean they're not that person? Do you want them to just never have a period of depression? Do you want them to just always do everything you want and always be strong and courageous? Okay, if you want that, fine. You do that. Oh, what's that? You haven't ever done that? Then don't be a hypocrite. And that happens in relationships all the time. We have unrealistic standards for the other person, and then we're not...
And then don't meet them ourselves.
Yes, but then we'll come up with reasons why. Well, no, that's different. You know that I was busy with work, and that's why I was stressed and didn't have time for you. But when you don't have time for me, that's because you're not living up to the expectations of this relationship.
Everyone has reasons for their imperfections.
Yeah, and it's not even imperfections. The real 420 IQ realization is that there is no imperfection. The person is who they are. That's just who they are. They were that the whole time. You just told yourself stories of how they were perfect or how they were living up to your ideal or how they were the perfect man for you or the perfect woman for you. You told yourself dumb stories, like unrealistic stories. And then when they didn't meet those unrealistic stories, you literally sanctified them. Like you made them into some sort of saint, like Jesus or something, or fucking, you know, any of these people. You made them into this perfect human being in your mind with all the stories that you told about them. And then when they don't match up to that, which no one can match up to that because you're telling fucking fairy tales, nobody can match up to a fucking fairy tale. They can't. They can't. And so if you're going to tell these stories or these fairy tales of this person is perfect or, you know, they're my other half or she's so strong and courageous, even the little things like that, like, wow, you're such a strong, courageous man. What do you do in the week when he's having doubts and insecurities? Do you just go like, this isn't who you're supposed to be? Like, I had told stories of how you're strong and courageous and by extension, always strong and courageous and will never have a moment of weakness. That's not love. That's conditional. And so, you know, Byron Katie has this really good quote where she says, nobody can ever disappoint me. I tell a story of how they disappointed me, and then I disappoint myself. People do that in love all the time or in relationships all the time. You'll tell a story of how this other person is perfect, and then when they don't match up to that, when they set 1 foot wrong, which is called just being human, like they have one moment where they're sad, but in your head you had told a story of how they're always strong and stoic and, you know, he's so kind and he's always selfless. The one time he's not like that, you'll then tell yourself the story of like, oh, something's changing. Oh my God, this is not the man that I fell in love with. Oh my God, something's wrong. I'm not feeling love anymore. Holy shit. And you'll start disappointing yourself. He didn't do anything. He was just being himself. He was doing his fucking best. And that's all we're ever doing in any moment. We're always trying to do our best. He was trying to do his best. And you told a story of, holy shit, you've changed. You first told yourself a story that was unrealistic of he's always perfect. And then you told a story of like, oh my God, like something's wrong. He's not matching up to that. You're literally sitting there reading out fairy tales to yourself, causing your own heartbreak. Well, he's just being a human being. He's just doing his normal daily life. And you're telling all these dramas and these fairy tales and all of that. So the antidote, or one of the antidotes to that, is to just tell less stories. When you catch yourself telling a story of like, wow, you're so confident and perfect, or you're so strong and ambitious, catch yourself in that and say, right now the act that you just did, I believe is strong and ambitious. Not you're always strong and ambitious, or the person I fell in love with is strong and ambitious, or I'm proud of you for being strong and ambitious. And that's where I think, like David Hawkins says, it's pride, not love. It's I'm proud of you for being strong and ambitious. I'm proud that I get to be in a relationship with someone so strong and ambitious. And then the second that they're not that, it reflects on you. Or you tell yourself a story of, this is reflecting poorly on me. Listen up, you little fucking shit. You better hurry up and get fucking strong and ambitious again, because this is looking bad. You're making me look bad here. I fucking told myself the story, and I told all my friends, or I just told myself that you're strong and ambitious. Don't fuck this up, okay? Like, it's pride. That's not love. That's definitely so far away from love that it is essentially the opposite of love. It's the opposite of love. Wanting someone to act the way that you want them to, or behave the way you want them to, or think the way you want them to, or say things you want them to. How could that ever be love? That's pride. That's ego. That's attachment. That's possessiveness. It's definitely controlling. It's addiction. It's eroticism. It's novelty. It's all of those things. And it does wax and wane. It comes and goes if they don't do everything you fucking want. Anything you want to add, young lady?
I think you said it all.
I said a lot of stuff. I say a lot of stuff when I'm fucking... What was that joke I used to make? I'd be like, I say a lot of crazy shit when I'm drunk. But I don't drink anymore. I haven't drunk, so I can't use that. And I was never drunk when I said that, but... Yeah, I love you very much.
Joke. I love you too.
Nice. Good. That's hot. Go out there, crush your goals, and build that self-love in yourself. This isn't just a cliche. It's actual fucking love, as opposed to attachment and all that other stuff.